Good evening, everyone. Let's see if we got it working. Yes. This one. Okay. Let's see. Esperanza, nice to see you, Tim. With my MMA training. Oh, that's a shame that it crashes with your MMA, Tim. We missed you. It's nice to have you back for once. Shame you're sick, though. And Jessica, nice to have you back. Can you hear me, by the way? Is it working now, the sound properly? I have a little bit different sound setup today, so I'm curious to see if it works. I'm trying to get this big microphone out of the way so it's not in my face, but I'm not sure if the sound actually picks it up enough. We'll see. I'm not sure if you were here. Nice. I'm not sure if you were here. Was it last Monday, Jessica? Because I was late. I was away and got stuck in traffic, and I hadn't even put up a live post for it. So yeah, I unfortunately was late for that one. Oh yeah, it's very fancy. It's an SE. I think it's German actually. Tim, you're German, right? It's nice. It's very nice. It's so difficult with microphones because I have a really deep voice, and when I speak, some voices it sounds so deep that when I talk, I just can't listen to it because I get a headache by all the rumbling. So I need a microphone. I think, okay, well, that happens. Yeah, it's difficult to listen to if there's too much rumbling in the background, but this one actually is, it's one that I like. Oh, you're an audio engineer. Okay, cool. I'm gonna have to ask you for help because I've been struggling. This is the first. If you listen to my videos, you'll see how I've gone with. I've borrowed microphones, some really nice ones, and I've tried some really cheap ones, and I think this is the one that I so far like the most. It's the one I used in the last video, and then it's the whole thing with equalizer. Whoa. It's like it's not enough to just make videos and figure out what you want to say that's actually useful and informative for people. Then you actually have to make it sound good, and you have to put it all together. It's difficult sometimes, but it's also fun. I enjoy it. Like, it's just that I don't have infinite amount of time to spend on it, unfortunately, or money. Because if you're in audio, yeah, you know that can cost money. What kind of audio engineering do you do, Tim? I think it's the same. I mean, it's just getting. I think mostly what I need help with is the equalizer, finding a nice curve. I've tried. I got bachelor's. Oh damn! Yeah, so then you know what you're talking about. I got a. It's I can't what it was called. It's called like Smart EQ Sonos. Was it Sonos or no? That's another one. I tried the trial version, and it just kind of does some AI stuff, and it works pretty well. But I would actually like to have a equalizer curve and a compressor curve setting that I can just reuse. That just sounds. I just want it to sound normal. I just want it to sound comfortable to listen to. Sonar works. Yes, I think that's the one. That's the one, and I think it actually works pretty well. But it's crazy expensive to buy. So if you want to buy both, well, crazy expensive. It just adds up with all the stuff. Still, I think it's fun. So then it's worth it. But yeah, like I said, there's a pretty hard limit on how much I can spend on plugins and equipment and lighting and cameras and renovating the studio and taking time off from work to be able to it's but it's like everything, you have to find a balance. Friend of mine, I wish I could take away this heart here. When I see everyone typing, it's like it hides the last word people type. Friend of mine had it in his music studio. Oh, but the audio sounds crisp. Good. Yeah, like I said, this one, I got it used really cheap. I paid like €100, less than €90 for it. with everything, and it sounds good in my voice. I think it's finding a microphone that fits your voice is I've tried a few now, so now I have something I think I'm happy with. Sounds crisp. I like that. Everyone having a good week otherwise? One of the nice things about it being difficult to do all of this is that there's like a entry level kind of. If it would be super easy, which it is in one way, then there would be all kinds of bad stuff. But if you actually want to make something nice on YouTube, it's not enough just to have fancy equipment. You actually have to have something original. No, you actually don't have to have something original. You just need to package it correctly. If you start looking at spiritual channels and you look for the small channels, YouTube is going to serve you small channels, and there's so much stuff out there. I used to laugh. Great week. Nice. Yeah. Happy to hear that, Jessica. A great week is always a good week. And I used to laugh about it because there was a guy who was teaching about, what do you call it? Chakra awakenings. And he had this, he's like very, very serious, talked about how he, when you have these chakra awakenings, it might be scary, but you should know it's all going to work out, and had all these theories and ideas about it. And then I checked on his channels, and he had a chakra Kundalini awakening like 2 months ago, and now he's an expert teaching Kundalini awakening to people. And I thought, wow, that's really maybe not the best thing to do. And I think the problem is, as long as things work, it's okay. But if you actually get into meditation and start going deep into it, there's a lot of difficult things that can happen. Meditation is not like this. It's kind of more you start out and it feels like this, and then it kind of goes down, and then you hit some places where it goes like way down. It can get very dark before it goes up again, and then so it's not a linear curve, and you have to know how to handle these things, and that's difficult in the beginning, especially if you come into meditation thinking, oh, it's just angels and fairies and beautiful and like unicorn farts and stuff. It's meditation, when you really start getting into it, is it can get dark, and it can get difficult, and it can bring things out that are difficult to handle, and if you don't expect that and are not aware that those things they can kind of take you by surprise. So that's one of the reasons why I laugh about that guy, because that's kind of crazy. And I think he's even selling courses on meditation now. I'm not even doing that. I consider myself like, do I actually know enough about this? I mean, I've only spent 6 years meditating every single day as a monk, and I've done this for a long time, but I still feel like hesitant saying things because I know that I don't know everything. I know that I don't know your particular case exactly. So even though I can say this is how it normally goes and these things work like that, I'm still careful about what I say because I know that you might perceive it differently. You might use different words, and Let's see, this is Timothy. I think teaching spiritual stuff is tricky. Yeah, it is. There's a lot of stages where you think you got it figured out, only to realize how stupid you are. Yep, I've done that quite a few times. Yogis deep in snow on the top of the Himalayas mountains comes to the mind. Question: is it true that chanting certain mantras can be harmful if you don't have the correct pronunciation? No, no, I wouldn't. Jessica, I wouldn't worry about that. Oh, sorry, was it Jack? No, that was Jessica. I'd hate to teach people only to find out I told them bullshit. Well, that's the thing. Like when you start out, you take on someone else's beliefs, and it takes a long time before you've experienced enough that you can teach your own belief. I just teach my own belief, and that's something that just feels so good, because whatever I tell you here, I can weave into things that I've heard from other people, but what you'll hear is like my experience and what I've seen in other people and my conclusions about those things. And I tried, for instance, what you said, like the mantras, pronouncing it wrong would be like dangerous. That's more something you would use to show that you need me to give you this mantra so that you can see how important this is. And then I just don't subscribe to those things. Hey, my family. Nice to be here in the community. Yeah, I love it. Shall we get started with the meditation, because time is moving forward? That's strange, isn't it? It's actually moving forward. We'll do the normal start where we do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, where we look at 5 things we can see, 4 things we can touch, 3 things we can hear, and 2 things we can smell, and finally 1 thing that we can taste. And then after that we'll do 20 minutes of guided meditation. And then we'll have questions and answers after. So let's see, I'll just do them and you can do them out with me. It's important to try to say them out loud because it actually makes you stop and look at the thing. So it's not just about doing 5 things. You actually want to stop, use your senses, and see how you go gradually deeper and deeper, because you have to search a little bit more to hear things, to smell things, or to taste things, and that's the whole point. So I can see a Buddha statue. I see one of those cushions that's on the sofa. There's a chair, and I see a pair of headphones, and I see my reading glasses that were just repaired today. That's 5 things I can see. 4 things I can feel is I can feel this woolen sofa, very nice to touch. I can feel my new old microphone. I can feel this mouse mat, and I can feel the stick that I ring the bell with. Now 3 things that I can hear. I can hear, it's either the wind or the rain. It wasn't raining, so I think it's wind. And I can hear the speakers are making a static kind of sound. And I can hear the autofocus of my camera. 2 things that I can smell. I smell wet clothes. My socks were wet before. And I smell wool. I can smell the wool. Then 1 thing that you can taste. I actually taste chocolate, because I had a piece of chocolate before. So just sit down or stand up or lie down. You can even be walking if you want to, but do it in a comfortable position, and preferably try closing your eyes. For these next 20 minutes, there might be lots of thoughts that you think are important about what's going to happen tomorrow or what happened today, or something you find to be very important. But just for these next 20 minutes, see if you can just let all of that go and just do this 1 thing for these 20 minutes, which is to observe your breath. So start bringing your awareness to your breath, observing how you're breathing in and breathing out, and breathing in and breathing out, and just become aware of breath happening inside of you. The problem with observing your breath is that the mind tends to drift away. So to make that easier to stay with the breath, we're going to be counting our breaths from 1 to 8, and then down from 8 to 1. And a little note is that when you do the counting, it's actually quite important that you put it in the pause in between breaths, because there's a pause in the breath. And what I noticed when I was meditating was that that's usually where I kept drifting off into my thoughts or my distortions and forgot that I was focusing on the breath. So by putting the counting right there, it makes it easier to stay with the breath. So we'll count together once, and then you can continue by yourself. Breathing in and breathing out. 1. Breathing in and breathing out. 2. Breathing in and breathing out. 3. Breathing in and breathing out. 4. Breathing in and breathing out. 5. Breathing in and breathing out. 6. Breathing in and breathing out. 7. Breathing in and breathing out. 8. Breathing in and breathing out. 7. Breathing in and breathing out. 6. Breathing in and breathing out. 5. Breathing in and breathing out. 4. Breathing in and breathing out. 3. Breathing in and breathing out. 2. Breathing in and breathing out. 1. So just continue counting your breaths, going from 8 to 1 to 8, and then down again from 8 to 1. Breathing in and breathing out. 1. Breathing in and breathing out. If you want to be really bad at meditating, if you want to learn how to fail at doing this kind of meditation, it's actually very easy. And it's what a lot of people do when they think they're trying to make themselves better. And that is to be really hard on yourself every time you lose awareness of the breath. You judge yourself. You make comments about how poorly you are and how probably everyone else sitting here is doing it much, much better than you are. And if you were only a better person, then obviously you too would be able to do at least 10, 1 to 8 and 81, because that's what good meditation is. By having that kind of thinking, that's the best way to make sure that your meditation is not beneficial. It's the best way to ensure that you will not gain calmness or stickiness of the breath, or all the other positive benefits that comes from meditating. As you're breathing in and breathing out. 1. Breathing in and breathing out. In this particular kind of meditation, we're not trying to control the breath. We're not doing breath work. Instead, what we're trying to do is step aside and let breath happen by itself. Just let breath occur naturally and see what it does. If you've been running, it'll do one thing. If you're sick, it'll behave in another way. If you're very calm, it will behave differently. So when you hear me say breathe in and breathe out, that's not actually how we're supposed to breathe. That's just what I do to make you see when I'm breathing in and out. But in reality, breath would be much calmer, slower, usually more shallow as you get deeper into concentration. Or maybe not, if a lot of things are coming up. It's not really a right or wrong. Instead, it's all about stepping to the side and just observing, what is your breath doing now as you're breathing in and breathing out. 1. Breathing in and breathing out. you want to gain deep concentration states, or if you want to become good or skilled at this kind of meditation, there are certain things that will help with doing that. The first one is to understand that the goal is not to see how many times you can go from 1 to 8 and 8 to 1. That's actually quite unimportant. The only thing you're trying to do is to become aware that you lost awareness of your breath and come back. Just come back and start over with your breath. Every time you do that, you gain stickiness of the mind. It's like the mind becomes stuck to your object of meditation and eventually will be effortless to stay with the breath, and it will just happen by itself. Being forgiving, being kind, being accepting are also things that really help with making this easier. To focus on just coming back to your breath, not keeping track of how many times you've gone from 1 to 8, or judging yourself because you started counting 25, 35. It doesn't matter. Just stay with the breath and start over every time you lose your awareness, observing as you're breathing in and breathing out. 1. Breathing in and breathing out. The counting of the breath is not a rule, it's just a tool. And when the tool becomes a rule, then you're hindering yourself. So for the last few minutes of the meditation, See what happens if you stop counting and just let your awareness drift around, observing breath, observing pain, observing sounds, whatever sensations your senses may give you. So if you want to, you can just keep on sitting. Okay. I'm not sure if I'm still streaming or if it dropped. Can anyone hear me? Huh. It says here that an error occurred. Can you see me also? Oh, it seems to be working. I have on my screen it says an error occurred, and well, anyway, as long as you guys are here, that's the most important. I just wanted to say that if you want to, you can keep on sitting, or it's free to write whatever you want or ask questions. Nice to hear you relax, Jessica. This particular meditation is called concentration or samadhi meditation, which basically makes you relax. It's how most people in the West view meditation. It's made to calm you down and clear away all the clutter that you have. Now, as soon as you start putting stimuli on your mind again, you're going to start having things spin up, which is why we do this kind of meditation to first calm down so that we then can observe what happens inside of us, or our reaction to the words around us. Padmasana. That's not the tradition I'm used to. That's the yogic name for it. I don't count. I just do my, yeah, that's perfectly fine. It's the whole thing about sitting in a group and meditating with people is, I find it so interesting. I wasn't sure it was going to work like that, but sitting with people, even if it's online like this, it really makes you calm, and it really, there's a different feeling. And sitting together with people and physically, really, it just works much easier. I noticed my chest was tight. Was it tight when you started or after a while? Lotus or half lotus, doesn't matter at all. It makes very little difference. I actually made a video about the lotus position because there's such high emphasis on trying to force yourself to get into it, like, and that something's going to happen. And I basically said that I've been to, I don't know how many meditation centers I've been to, but I've been to a lot of centers, and I've seen thousands upon thousands of people meditate for long retreats where we sit not just 10 days, like 1 month, it's like 3-month retreats where you sit every single day for 10, 15 hours if it's really, really intense. No one, I really mean that, no, I can't remember a single person who sat in lotus position. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do it. I've seen them do it short whiles, like especially when you started out, if they were not used meditators in the beginning. But for long-term meditation, it's just, I think it just hurts your knees, and I don't really see the benefit of it. It does give you a very straight back and align your back, so that's good. But for long-term, it's just overrated. There are much easier ways of sitting than going into a lotus position, for sure. And there's a lot of pride in it, a lot of like, yes, I can do this, I'm a good yogi now, I understand how this works, and you believe that just by sitting in that position, it kind of gives you something which is doesn't, it's just a position. It's like saying you're going to be Michael Schumacher just because you sit in a Formula One car. I mean, if I sat in a Formula One car, I'd probably just crash it. I'm not sure I'd be able to get around a corner. When you said the chest was tight, Jessica, yeah, the chest was tight. Did that loosen up after a while, or was that something that came kind of after a while? There's nothing wrong if you actually do like sitting in the lotus position. By all means, sit in it, but don't make it into a big deal, thinking that if I can only sit in the lotus position, then my meditation is going to be so good. If I can only pronounce that mantra the perfect way, then I'm going to get something. There's an idea that we do something difficult and then we get a reward somehow. That's just not really how it works. Instead, it's more that you learn how to relate to the world differently, and then it's easier to walk in the world. Yes, it loosened. Good. I mean, sometimes we get tightness. It can come up, and there can be what people call energy movement. I generally don't tend to call it that because I'm not sure it's energy. Just because it feels like it doesn't mean it is that. But that can kind of move around, and you can get a lot of tension, a lot of pressure. Some people can feel panic. That's why when you meditate, if you want to open your eyes, that's fine. There's no reason to push yourself, especially if you're by yourself. You don't want to push yourself too hard. But there can be panic coming up, and then you can have tightness of the chest. But it usually goes over. Yes, it did loosen. Tataga, how long did... I can't see the end. How long did he sit? What do you mean? Jack, when you... with the question, like, how long did the Tathagata sit? Do you mean before he was enlightened the last time? When he sat down and said, I'm going to sit until I'm enlightened? Or do you mean how long, in general, per sitting he would sit? I wish I could take this heart away so I can see, or that little icon away, so I can see the last word. the main thing, Jessica, is that don't be afraid. Like the things that come up is perfectly normal. So much weird stuff happens in meditation, and the best approach is just, there's actually many traditions who don't really go into any kind of interpretation. They just, these things happen and just kind of, yeah, just let it happen and then see it for what it is. It comes and it goes away. It comes and it goes away. And some things will be pleasant, some things will be unpleasant. Yes. Do you mean yes for the last sitting? I don't actually know. I personally don't believe that story is true. For me, that's kind of a story that was made to illustrate the obstacles that it had to come over. It doesn't, I mean, it just doesn't really make any sense from the perspective of overcoming the sense of self. When you sit down and said, I'm going to fight, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to face my deep, that's like, there's so much self in that. So from the perspective of overcoming your sense of self, that just doesn't make any sense. But I think what they wanted to show is saying that, okay, he was determined to do his practice seriously and he sat down. And then the things he faced in Buddhism, they have certain ways that they personify the things that he faced, like Mara, the temptress and her daughters that came. And like, those are just ways of making it easier for people to understand the things that you will face. I don't take those stories literally. I mean, if you do, that's fine, and I don't mean to disrespect you, because some people do actually take them very, very literally, and I just don't. I think they're stories made to make it easier to understand the whole process, kind of. A situation I've been dealing with has been resolved, so I have a lot of tension and stress that needs to leave my body due to the stress. Oh yeah, the legal situation you're in, I'm happy to hear that it's been resolved. And that can happen, like when you carry around all that tension and you start moving, then that can kind of come out. I think yoga, Mindful Mama teaches yoga. And yoga can be a really good way to get away from tension. Sitting still like this is very good for calming down, but if you have a lot of stress and tension, I find that walking meditation is really good. Certain ways you can do that, but just widening your awareness when you're walking and seeing how you distort towards things around you and doing a slow walk, basically just going out in nature, walking, stopping, and not just rushing. And I don't mean like walking the way that you see when people go, just, I'm gonna walk so slowly. You just walk naturally and see how it goes and observe things around you. That can be a really good way to let go of tension. But also yoga is amazing for lots of tension. I carry tension with me as well because of my spinal injury, and yoga really does help to loosen that up. And painkillers when it's too bad. See, Mindful Mama says, I teach yoga, Jack. In the past 8 years, I saw very few people sitting in a lotus that was actually good for the body. Many people force themselves, and like Martin said, it becomes another ego thing. Yeah, my experience also, I just have not seen, it's just not something people do. It's more the image people have of what it's supposed to be like when you're meditating. You sit in a lotus position and you do these, are they called mudras, with the hands? And again, try sitting like this, like with your arms out like this for 10 hours. That would just be like, why would you do that? It's like sleeping like this, like with your arms like this. That's not going to be comfortable. It's completely unergonomical, and you just can't sit like that. So it's something that people do for specific practices that you do short term, but long term, and actually like sitting a lot, just don't do it. Oh, did I freeze? Sorry. Yeah, I didn't mean to freeze. Am I back again? I will be weeding my yard today. That's all. Yeah, taking away weeds. I like actually cleaning up when the kids are not home or I'm home alone. It's quite nice to just clean the house and just fix things without being good. I'm happy I'm unfrozen. I'm not sure what's wrong with the computer right now. But just doing things mindfully. It's what they practice in Plum Village. That's a tradition where they focus more on the mindfulness and just interaction with other humans or animals, whatever. Just being aware of your actions and just doing things mindfully. It's a really nice way of coming back to the present. And if you've been handling something difficult, then you've probably been distorting a lot of with things around you, and then you need to come back to your senses. Yeah. Nice. I always enjoy these things. I've been to work. I've had a long day, and then coming here, like, no, it's nice to sit down and go into sleep, dude. Satvik, hey, nice to see you, Satvik. Go and sleep, dude. Yep, I'm definitely gonna go sleep. It just glitched for a few seconds. You're back. I see lots of hearts, so that's probably good. Well, I'm gonna go to sleep. It's been really nice meeting everyone, and we'll be back on Thursday. Thursday is not guided, but we'll just sit together, which is really nice as well. And there's also the questions and answers after if you want to ask them. So thank you for today, and I'll see you on Thursday.